So with your board, you're part of that movement for the really, really big boards, which is kind of crossed over from all the cable boarders who are like riding like 150s, 155s,
Yeah.
and I've actually been pushing that for a while. Not as big as that, but for years now I've always said like the average like 180-pound guy should be like a 144 at least.
Yeah, at least.
As opposed to
yeah, for so long, kiteboards were like stuck at 142. That was like it.
Yeah.
Like no brand made more than
135 to 142, and a lot
Yeah.
of people were on 135s and struggling in light wind.
Yeah, and even a 135 to 142, if you think of that in any other board sport, that is like, it's such a small range of boards.
Tiny.
It's like, I don't know what that is. It's like a 4% increase in size. It's like, that's the entire range of a board. It's like, smallest board is 4% smaller than a big board. It's like ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, and then you look at other sports like, I don't know, surfing or wakeboarding or snowboarding or all that. You've got boards ranging from, I mean, surfing, you look at surfing, you've got boards ranging from 4'10" to 12 feet. Like,
Yep.
and it just depends on what you want to do with it. Whereas kiting, everyone kind of figured that you need a 138 and that's it, that'll work for everything.
One size fits
If you
all.
want a free ride, if you want a big air, if you want a freestyle, if you want a wave ride on your twin tip, like whatever you want to do, it's like, you're 75 kilos, alright, here's a 138.
Yeah.
But like there's so much more to it, which is kind of where we're exploring with the Traverse, is like you basically pick the size to suit your style. Or obviously there's a bit of weight to it as well, like if you're a big heavier guy, you're going to want the 152 for sure.
Oh yeah.
But like if you're someone who just wants to go out and play around and have a really smooth cruisy ride and something that planes in light wind and feels really nice for carving, like myself, I'm 78, 80 kilos, I think it's like 175 pounds or something. And I ride a 152 most of the time as well, just because I prefer the way it feels and prefer the way it rides.
Yeah, in my experience too, I found with the bigger boards, like when you're in gustier wind or like you're like, it'll help you like power through because you get a bit more plane. It's funny because a lot of riders out there are chasing like that big air feel, and they just want the stiffest, flattest board possible. But not that many riders are actually doing big air.
Yeah.
And like kind of the more playful, fun, like softer landings that you get from boards like this, actually really beneficial for just free riding as well, which is funny.
For an older guy who's just cruising around, this is so much better on your knees than a stiff carbon board or a light carbon board or something like that, and it just gives you a lot more to do as well. It's more playful on the water. You can carve, you can bonk off things, you can still do big air, of course. It's not, a 152 is not going to be like, okay, you can't do big air. If you're to the point where you're trying to compete or you're going for that woo record, or if you're going to the king of the air, okay, if you're really like dedicated to get the biggest jump, a 152 is probably not going to suit you.
For sure, yeah.
But for most people who are just happy to go out and boost when it's windy, play around when it's 25 knots, do some freestyle when it's 15 to 20, or even have just an all-round board, like, I find a bigger board just gives you that wider range of use, more playfulness, and the landings too. It's a big one, as you were saying. Like, you've got a bigger platform to land. You land and you kind of glide out of the landing. Instead of on a smaller board, you land, and there's such small surface area, you kind of stop and you hit the water a lot harder, and you don't like glide out of it. So it's a much harder landing on a small board for sure.
Yeah, and I feel like there could be some compromise as well. Like obviously, like if you're a park ride and you're a freestyle, like the big boards, there's a ton of benefits, especially the landings where you can break the water with your tail. Yeah. And then maybe your average free rider. This is just my take. I feel like 144 is like pretty good size.
Pretty good size.
So
obviously I've got the three size boards, the Traverses 138, 144, 152. And if I was to pick one for everything, I'd be on the 144 probably.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it just works for everything. I can big air on it, no worries. If I'm competing in the king of the air or something and I want the ultimate one, I'll size down. But if I had one board, I can freestyle perfect on the 144. It's still long enough that I get that playful feel. We've obviously made them a little bit narrower. You can't just take a one. That's the thing a lot of people think as well. Like 152, that's massive. It's like, okay, but it's the same width as a standard 142 board. So the surface area is not that much bigger. Like our 144, the surface area is about the same as a standard kiteboard 139 or something. So it doesn't feel that huge. It just gives you that extra length to play with, to carve with, to land on. A bit more gliding speed and all that. But if you were to take the surface area, it's only 42 wide. Like it's not really that big a board. So it's just the length, and that's something that I like, is little bit more length. It's for like the butter slides and riding in the park, or even just landings, having that bit of extra tip and tail in front of your feet just gives you that bit more control. It's just, you feel more comfortable coming in on a hot landing and chop, knowing that you've not got this much board in front of your foot. You've got a little bit more.
A lot more to land on.
So.
And they look better in photos and video.
Yeah,
I mean, let's admit it. It's a little extra steez. That, you know, when you tweak something, there's a little extra poke there.
Yeah,
it's very noticeable.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so when I can, if it's nice conditions, I ride my 152.
Yeah.
But that size is more made for, like, I'm not a heavy rider. That's just there for beforehand. So many big guys would come up to be like, man, they only make a 142. Like, I can only find a 142 in kiteboarding. I want something way bigger, because I'd be on a 142 all the time, which is the maximum size. So that's kind of where the 152 is really great for me in the park, but it's also there for those bigger guys who just want an all-round free ride board.
For sure.
The 150, like, there's a lot of kiters out there that should be on a 152 but are stuck on a 142, because most brands just stick to the 142. Yeah, and I think that's partly like 5 years ago they made a mold that stopped at that size, or they just haven't really experimented with it yet. But I think it'll come around. There's a few more people doing it now, and I think we're just slowly educating people about the board and about the benefits of riding.
Yeah, lots of room for growth, I think, in the kite industry, and people to pick things up and advance and progress. And,
for sure.
Yeah, I guess last topic will be super short, but I mean, I guess just tying it all together, it could be like a nice, I feel like there could be like a nice blending of like the new and the old, because it's funny, because what was old is now new, and what was new is now old. If you know what I'm referencing.
It's all like coming circles.
It's like it's exactly, it goes in circles. It'd be kind of nice to see some of these concepts just blend together, then people can make better choices.
Yeah.
So hey man, I appreciate the interview. I hope you guys found some useful nuggets of information out of that, whatever your discipline is. And if you found the video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll catch you next time.
See you later.